Welcome back, and of course, get interactive with us and then share your thoughts with us. We are on X Spaces, also live on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Brobe. Now, this afternoon, President John Mahama has approved plans to grant a private sector concession to manage the retail operations of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, a move government says it aimed at improving efficiency and service delivery in the country's power sector. Now, under the arrangement, a private operator will be contracted to manage ECG's customer relations and revenue collection, whilst government retains the ownership of the company. Now, this is President Mahama at yesterday's May Day celebration at the Black Star Square.
In the distribution of power. Let me assure you that is not my intention to privatize ECG as an institution. Our attention is more a public-private collaboration to inject efficiency into our downstream electricity distribution system. And I must say, it will not be the first time. It's been done before.
Also listen to the Energy Minister, John Jinapo, who is explaining the new model to my colleague, Evans Mensah.
The Cabinet has chosen the option of concession. Okay. We are not selling ECG, and let me put this on record.
So that decision has now been made?
It's been made. We are not selling ECG. Far from that. And so ignore the misinformation, ignore the misconception. Cabinet has taken a definitive position that we require some level of private sector participation, but not to sell the company outright. So what are we talking about? And I try to put it simple. ECG will remain the holding company. So ECG has this room as ECG operational area. They divide into 4-3. Ruling company, you take one. Yours is to manage that sector or that geographical area. At the end of the month, we check how much power came to you. Just hypothetically, maybe 20 megawatts. And so we check the gigawatt hours that you consumed. And we say that this is the price. PS. You pay ECG. How you collect the money is your cup of tea.
So you have to pay ECG upfront?
No, you put a deposit or a guarantee.
Okay.
So you put a guarantee because before you can qualify, we're going to have what you call RFQ, which is request for qualification. So that we sieve off some companies and have top-notch companies through a competitive process. Then you go to what we call an RFP, request for proposal. Then based on those proposals and based on the criteria, we eventually select the concessionaires. So that concessionaire or that company must have capacity, which includes financial capacity, technical capacity, and all the issues we are talking of. And so it's not like go and get some friends to come and take a contract. We're taking a transaction advisor, competitive bidding, competitive process, so that we'll get a very good company. So simply put, what we are going to do is to buy bulk power from ECG and sell.
So you, ECG is guaranteed their money?
Yes.
And then it is you, this private player, it's your job to go and sell what you pay ECG.
That is your job.
ECG needn't bother about...
No, about how you collect the money. ECG's concern should be that I give you X amount of power. PURC's concern is that this is the price we've guaranteed for you. You can't charge above that. Your duty is to sell that power, one. Your duty is to collect that power in terms of the money and put it in a dedicated account. ECG takes its, whatever is left is yours. Already they have what they call boundary metering. At the regional level. So let's assume that you have 20 boundary meters. So we know the power that flows at the regional level. So hypothetically, 20 regions, divide them into 3 or 4. That means everybody has 5 regions. So your 5 regions, if we give one company limited, all we need to do is to meter the boundary meters. And at the end of the month, we know the amount of power that flowed into your area. And we tell you this is the invoice. PS. If you don't, we depend on the guarantee, and eventually we terminate the contract. So you must be a serious company in order to come and manage that place. You have to respond to some of the issues in terms of how to collect the money and all that. And I think that is a good approach. And I want to appeal to the Public Utility Workers Union.
The workers are opposed to this approach.
Yes, so I ask them, what do we do? because we are heading for a ditch. Every objective person would agree that this system is unworkable. Every objective person would agree that this current system is not sustainable.
But they've given some proposals. I remember
they say they don't want political interference.
Yes.
So let the private sector assume that.
But it's the politicians who manage this entire process.
Yes, that's why we are saying that let's make it competitive. I want ECG represented. I want even the TUC represented on this committee. I want all the stakeholders represented. Whatever we're doing, let's publish it. What is the criteria? How did you choose this company? I don't want the PDS approach, where things are done shrouded in secrecy.
But the workers, they work with PDS. So we're happy with the PDS when PDS started working.
Then they should be happy for another private sector participation.
But they're not happy that this entire process is going to be managed and led by the politician like yourself.
But it's the same politicians that manage the PDS process. Well, you know, here when Kenneth Orata and Go were changing the shareholding structure, we have said we want an open, competitive process. I think the workers should be interested.
How removed will you be, when I say you, the government and the political players, be from this process?
Because we are putting in place a technical committee that has men of integrity. And I want ECG represented.
And of course, that's the Energy Minister's justification for this new route that ECG is about to travel. The involvement of the private sector, especially in the retail and revenue collection angle of the operations of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Do you find this feasible? You can drop your comments on our X page, on Facebook, on YouTube. But let me subject this proposal to some scrutiny. Director of Research and Policy at the Trade Union Congress, Dr. Kwabena Nyakunwotu, is unconvinced this will work, and he joins me via Zoom. Dr. Otu, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Right. So this matter of private sector participation, or whichever name you want to give it, will not go away. In fact, it's going to be an integral part of the operations of the Electricity Company of Ghana in some few weeks or months to come. Is this something that you welcome when the government says that the 69 billion cedi debt on the head of ECG is something that cannot be allowed to continue, and the private sector may work the magic to bring it down?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm not the director of research for TUC anymore. I'm the Deputy Secretary General of TUC.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so yes, we do not welcome that route. And we have made our point severally on this matter. You know, in the nomenclature or in the literature on privatization, we have come to know that privatization since the days of structural adjustment has been a very bastardized terminology. We have sold over 300 state enterprises in Ghana, and across Africa and across the world, many have seen how privatization hasn't worked, has increased cost for everybody, and made few private setup people and their political cronies fantastically rich. So privatization, as we have known, is very bastardized across the world. So those who want to privatize don't want to use the word privatization anymore. They now resort to other nomenclature to describe the same thing. So you now have private sector participation, for example, as the new thing. And so for us in TUC, privatization and private sector participation are one and the same. And we do not agree to it for the very reasons we have catalogued over many years.
But in this case, it is not the entire operation of ECG that is going to be taken over by the private sector. It is just some aspect of it. So it cannot be privatization, as the word may suggest.
So in the very early days of privatization, for example, when structural adjustment was launched, not entirely everything was sold. Government kept a certain portion, but it was called privatization.
Right.
Government could be a minority shareholder. And in most cases, that was the situation. So if you now say that it's only a portion, and because of that, it is not privatization, it is exactly what was done in the 1980s and 90s. It is privatization. You are bringing in private sector people on the supposed assumption that those private sector people are more efficient. But we're in this country when private sector people run down the entire public banking sector, and you have to use public money to bail them out. So what are we talking about when we say that the private sector is efficient? Okay, and the question of it is only one segment.
Right.
Why don't we do a critical analysis of the entire electricity value chain and identify all the inefficiencies, and then come to a conclusion that, okay, this inefficiency is much more serious, for which reason we need some solution. So, for example, we know the inefficiencies in ECG procurement.
Right.
Why is anybody not interested in addressing that one, but only interested in placing where the money is collected in the hands of private people? Okay, we know there are many challenges. For example, we procure electricity in dollars and at much higher dollar price than any other country probably in sub-Saharan Africa. And then we sell the same electricity in cedis. Before the PRC does its automatic quarterly adjustment,
right,
there are some exchange losses that may affect the operations of ECG. Okay, why are we not interested in that? Why do we procure renewable energy in this country at a cost of 6 cents per kilowatt hour, when if you go to Namibia, it is 3 cents per kilowatt hour? Why are we not interested in fixing those inefficiencies? But we are only interested in handing over the revenue collection of ECG to private profit-motivated individuals.
Because maybe, I'm not holding brief for government, but the explanation we've been told is that collection is a difficulty for the ECG. They say they can't collect, and for that reason, and without collecting, that's where you accumulate debt. Perhaps it is one of the reasons why government says that we cannot continue to add on. Currently, the debt stands at 69 billion Ghana cedis, and it's not sustainable. But we've been told that the issues in the energy sector threatens the very survival of our economy, and for that reason, a more drastic measure must be undertaken. But also, I'm interested in knowing, you obviously is not happy with the state of affairs as far as ECG is concerned.
Yes, we are not happy. So the debt, 69 billion, part of it came from the non-collection. Part of which also came from the 1,300 containers that are missing from the port.
Right.
How did the collection by the private sector people address the 1,300 containers, plus many other procurement inefficiencies? How does the private sector arrangement solve those problems?
And where are you going to put the blame in terms of the things that you are talking about? Is it interference or general inefficiency on the part of the managers of ECG?
A combination of factors. The interference plays a key role. You understand? The ECG procures things they do not need. And it's because a certain politician has directed them to procure. So the interference is a key, huge part of the problem at ECG. Okay. The non-collection itself, we live in this country where we have undertaken large-scale self-help electrification projects. And we have come to know that in some instances, the Ministry of Energy connect people to the grid in the name of self-help electrification program.
Right.
When ECG is not aware of that connection to the grid. Okay, how do they collect the revenue when they are not even aware? You have procurement meters. In this day and age, you have district assemblies that are actually distributing meters to people.
Right.
And the idea was that, okay, you even do that in the self-help electrification project areas. But some of these meters find their way back into the peripheries of Accra in the name of political meters. So you have large areas where, for political reasons, you have connected them to electricity, but nobody is collecting or nobody is paying. Okay. And you see, you should also recognize the challenge we face in this country. We have done well as a country by connecting nearly more than 90% of our population to electricity.
Right.
Sometimes the example is given that we should go the way of Uganda. In Uganda, less than 50% of the people have electricity. But Elton, you can be sure that no more than 50% of Ghanaians earn regular income,
right,
for which reason they will be able to pay a monthly electricity bill. But if we have all recognized that there's a certain social or political need for them to have electricity, then we should not cry wolf when we are saddled with the fact that collection is very low. Of course, part and a major part of the low collection is actually not even in the rural areas or the poor communities. It is actually in, East Legon and other places where people have connected their ACs to the main line, not passing through their meters and all of that. There was an ECG task force that was supposed to address all of these things. But if you listen hard, you see how politicians themselves frustrate those efforts. Maybe the only way we can have a conversation is for the politicians to accept that, hey, we have failed, we will continue to fail. And then probably they apologize to this country. And then we can have a conversation. If they insist that they cannot stop their misbehavior, and that the only way out is for them to continue to misbehave, to interfere, for us to accept a private sector solution, it makes it difficult.
But if this misbehavior on the part of the politician is to be cured, you don't think that the private man who has invested his money into ECG will do that job?
I don't think so. You see, we have gone this route before. In the most recent instance, you remember when we were debating whether the Ghana Telecom should be privatized or not.
Right.
I don't know whether that we heard all these private people bringing in money, bringing in technology, and bringing in efficiency. We fought very hard against it. We sold Ghana Telecom for £1 billion at the time. But today, what is the state of Ghana Telecom? They cut off over 4,000 jobs. Today, what is the workforce size of Ghana Telecom, or the so-called, is it Telecel?
Yes, it's Telecel now.
Have they invested technology? Have they invested any efficiency? Look at the status of that company vis-a-vis, MTN and other companies. Okay. So we have gone that route before.
Let's in this case, according to the Energy Minister, John Jinapor, these new arrangements, as approved by Cabinet, and now they are going to open the way for companies to apply and go through the process, is that the power will be generated, will be given to whoever will win the bid. For example, 50 megawatts is generated, will be given to that person. How that person sells and collects the money will not be the headache of government. But government and ECG will expect that if I'm giving you 50 megawatts of power valued at 100 million Ghana cedis, I expect 100 million Ghana cedis at the end of the month or any other period that will be agreed between the two parties. You don't think this will work?
This analysis appears, in our view, too simplistic. What happens to the ECG workers who are currently doing all the things? Well, there are complexities we have not considered. What happens to all of them? The truth, and you see, sometimes people will say that the TUC and its members are selfish. Why not? We have workers working in a country where good jobs are hard to come by. We bring in private people with a promise that they will even help create more jobs. In the end, we realize that the few jobs that were even there have been cut. And then you still want to convince us that another same approach will be better. We cannot accept that. I've just told you that when we privatized Ghana Telecom, over 4,000 jobs were lost. How many have been created in its stead? We have done private sector participation in Ghana Water before. It didn't end well. We have done PDS, it didn't end well. Okay. But see, this whole approach, now the minister is saying that he wants TUC and other people to be represented. There's a certain initial conception in which we have been skipped. Okay. And then suddenly you are asked to join the train. Okay. it creates a difficulty for all of us.
But the Jabez Samisa committee, meetings that it had before putting together a report, TUC was consulted, right?
Yes, but they never accepted any of our misgivings or even any of our suggestions. They never did that. So, and when they presented a report to them, we told them that we don't find ourselves in this report. So that committee was put together to look at ways to bring in the private sector.
Right.
Anybody who had a contrary view about private sector participation, they only listen to you for the optics, to check the box, but not to take your hard concerns into account going forward.
All right. Let me just ask a final question. Now that it's looking clear that it will not be business as usual as far as ECG is concerned, President Mahama yesterday at the May Day parade made it clear that he's not selling ECG, but rather bringing the private sector to endanger some kind of efficiency. The minister has explained what government means by the concession agreement that it intends to have with the private sector player that will win the bid. What would be your recommendation to government from now till they take a final decision on this matter?
So we just had, about I think 5 years ago, a concession agreement under PDS.
Which lasted for 5 months.
That didn't go well. And then we are now suddenly told that we are not selling ECG, but we were only doing a concession. I mean, we just have a very recent history of concession. Okay. I mean, my only advice to government is that the TUC is not here to frustrate government. The TUC has sound reasoning for rejecting this so-called private sector participation. And government probably also has its own sound reasons for going the route it has chosen to go. My advice to government is that let us sit down properly. Let us lay all the cards on the table. Let us understand each other.
Right.
Okay. And let us collectively chart the way forward. Any unilateral stance on government will have to mean that the TUC will also have to advise itself.
And that means that even though you don't accept it as of now, you may scale your protest up if government stay with this current position.
I'm saying that government should dialogue with particularly PU and the TUC. You understand? And that if you do, we may find an amicable solution to this issue. But
doesn't it frighten you that we've got 80 billion cedis debts in the energy sector? In fact, we have been told there's an ongoing meeting between government and Car Power. Car Power is threatening to cut supply to Ghana because of a $300 million debt that government hasn't paid. Everybody says that the energy sector alone is a time bomb. Something drastic needs to be done immediately.
So it frightens me a lot. Yesterday in the Secretary General's address, he mentioned the financial implications of the energy sector debt, not just for the energy sector, right, but also for the entire economy as a whole. But you see, even as the politicians, including the previous government, mostly the previous government that left, even as they talk about the debt, they are doing things that add to the debt. And you understand the point I'm making? So right, the point is that there needs to be some clear understanding on all our parts. What is contributing to the debt situation and what ought to be the way out? If one part, and of course, government has the mandate to rule, and we do not contest that. If one part thinks that that is the only way to go, and it will not listen to the others, it creates a problem going forward.
All right. Will it be here for now?
The energy sector debt is a problem.
Okay.
But let's get to the bottom, how this debt continues to build up.
Dr. Otu, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Dr. Otu is a Deputy Secretary General of the Trade Unions Congress, and we were talking about the energy sector. Government appears to have settled on what they want to do with ECG. According to the Energy Minister, Cabinet has approved a concessionary arrangement between government and the private sector yet to be selected to take over the retail and revenue collection aspect of ECG operations. And the door will be open very soon for those interested to send in bid, and then government will settle on the suitable partner to bring some sanity to the electricity company of Ghana. Right, so this is the pause. Your comments are welcome. If you think government method is the way to go, send us your comments via our social media handle, X Spaces, YouTube, Facebook, and of course on myjoyonline.com. Nana B, that's Henry Nana Boache, is national organizer of the MPP and is my guest. But before we do that, the minority leader, Afenyo-Markin, has launched a scathing critique of the Council of State, accusing the advisory body of partisanship, and its recommendation to President Mahama to suspend the Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono pending the determination of petitions seeking her removal from office. Now, speaking on the Super Morning Show, the minority leader, Afenyo-Markin, questioned the council's impartiality and expressed concern over what he described as a troubling politicization of constitutional processes. The controversy stems from multiple petitions submitted to the president calling for the removal of the Chief Justice over alleged misconduct. Acting on advice from the Council of State, President Mahama announced a temporary suspension of the Chief Justice pending a formal investigation into the allegations. But the minority leader argues the suspension undermines judicial independence and sets a dangerous precedent.
From where I sit, we, the two political parties, would have to be very careful because there's this social media drive by the youth with a high expectation of us. We shouldn't be too comfortable thinking that there's democracy and that is it. Also, if you look at the election results, MPP's strongest hold, Ashanti, the percentage of turnout, quite disappointing. Volta region, NDC's strongest hold, percentage, quite disappointing. The worst of it was Greater Accra. Greater Accra, where we see all the politics, 53% plus, not even up to 55% of turnout. What that tells me, as a politician who relies on data, is that there's a disconnect out there against both parties. It means that people expect us to do something new. Therefore, it becomes very repugnant for a government that has gotten such an overwhelming mandate with a resetting agenda to rather reset in a negative way. Chief Justice removal, I mean, this is a political rehearsal that started long ago, and President Mahama, as a candidate, made public statement on this. Even before Tokono, in 2022 August, when he was addressing some NDC activists, lawyers in Akosombo, was the first, attack. That was when Eni Yabua was a Chief Justice, and he said, "Look, they expect that the new Chief Justice will do something new, and that the CJ then, has lost the plot, and the judiciary was not independent and all of that." Then Tokono came in. If you ask the petition, I've read the petitions. I mean, it will not even qualify for any consideration by any adjudicating body. They will just dismiss it. But here we are. Our Council of State has failed us. The Council of State tells us that they found a prima facie.
It was almost unanimous.
That's where the disappointment comes from. That today in Ghana, we, the political actors, where there is a challenge, I remember in the 8th Parliament, we relied on the Council of State a lot to intervene in that Parliament. They helped us a lot, both sides. Now, would I have the courage? Would I have the trust in them? Council of State, this is the Council of State we have. They call themselves Council of State. And then you make a recommendation that the woman should be suspended for what offense? It is not about her, but it's about the institution. And you bring in somebody, then the very thing that you complain about, You said it was wrong for 2 nominees who had gone through vetting to be approved by the plenary. It was wrong for 5 more to be nominated because, you think that it would amount to packing the court. But today, you have nominated 7. And in fact, their approach is very new, very novel, I should put it, because the processes that I know in the nomination of judges to the Supreme Court, it gets discussed at the Judicial Council.
And we're going to spend some time to talk about this. Henry Nanabuache is national organizer of the MPP. He's in the studio with me. But before we do that, ahead of the formal hearing on the petition, the minority leader is again calling for the proceedings to be broadcast live to ensure transparency.
The petitioners here today, where are the petitioners? Are they ghosts? If you ask them that, can you yourself read your petition? Do you know? I pray that day comes where this so-called committee hearing, and I pray that the hearing is done public. Though that provision in the Constitution that talks about in-camera hearing, it is if the affected individual, the CJ, says, look, I want to waive these rights, make it public. And I think that is what we should all insist as a nation. I wouldn't want to leave your studio a hypocrite. I want to leave your studio consistent with the views I express and let my conscience guide me. I have said ab initio that the time has come for us as a nation to leave behind us that era of retaliatory politics.
All right, so that's the minority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, Sahin Alexander Afenyo-Markin there. Now, the national organizer of the MPP, Henry Nanabuache, is in the studio with me for us to exhaust some of the issues that he raised at that news conference yesterday. Nabi, you're welcome.
Elton, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So, you all set for Monday?
Yes, all is set. We have engaged police. Mm-hmm. We have discussed in details the route. We will converge at the Supreme Court, the car park opposite the Supreme Court.
Right.
That is where we are going to do the mammoth gathering.
Why there?
We will converge there, right there. We will present 3 petitions. The first will be presented at the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And then we will proceed through the main street in front of NLA.
Right.
Then get to the High Court Complex roundabout, mm-hmm. what they call the Mofa roundabout. Right. That is how the police call it. Then we will take left, march past the High Court Complex, the Law House. Then we'll go in front of the Ministry's police station. At the traffic light, we turn right. Mm-hmm. Then we proceed through the main Ministry's route, through the sports stadium. We go around the sports stadium. We take the military cemetery. Then we'll do the second presentation at Parliament. Then we'll proceed to the roundabout. We take right to Akwaje interchange. Then we'll do the final presentation of petition at the Jubilee House. Okay. That is where we'll bring everything to an end. But this is going to be the first of the many activities, protests. That
will be undertaken. But the question that is on the minds of people. I mean, what law has been broken that has necessitated this protest that you intend holding on Monday?
You see, the fact is that this whole thing is a political gimmick. It is something well calculated and being implemented. Look, we will have the national chairman of the NDC running from one radio station to the other saying that, oh, we are going to clear the Chief Justice. And after she's been cleared, we're also going to clear the Electoral Commission and her deputies. Why? They think that the NDC, we've won, so they should stay. No, they are not going to stay. We will clear them.
I remember Dr. Kobana said a similar thing when Mills was president.
Exactly. I mean, I remember that he said there are so many ways to kill a cat.
And nobody was cleared.
No, but that is what I'm saying, because at that time, we have to be serious about it. And that is why we have to take these things serious. Because for me, if you look at the actions, last week I said that His Excellency the President has intentions of packing the court. And I recall the journalist I was having the interview with queried me and said that, why should I so? Why should I be saying so? And I said, no, what are you talking about? I know what I'm talking about. Just the next 2 weeks, he's going to pack the court. That was just about last 2 weeks ago. And then 2 days ago, a man who was preaching a capping, a man who said that the Constitutional Review Committee set up under President Mills recommended that there should be a cap, there should be a ceiling,
Right.
maximum 15. And he used it when he was campaigning. That when he comes, he's going to make sure that there's a ceiling. He's going to champion that. And we've not seen this jump before. With one release, he's nominated 7 persons to the Supreme Court. So making 20.
But all of them qualified.
No, nobody's talking about qualification here. We were talking about what he said he was going to do. The lack of principle in here. The lack of principle in here. And all these times, do not forget that we have elements within the NDC displaying the responses of Justice Tokunu on social media. You have the National Communications Officer, Sami Jemfi, appearing on Asempa and speaking on authority to all the consultations that went on within the council. In fact, including disclosing
The content of the petition.
pattern and the content of the petition and the responses from Justice Tokunu and even the voting pattern. Look, they have bastardized the entire process. In this constitution, it's supposed to be, all proceedings are supposed to be held in camera.
Right.
Here we are being told, not only him, Edugita Tamaklo, all these NDC people displaying the petition, displaying the responses, and saying that, in fact, they even disclosed to us that after the voting, 30
Out of 31.
out of 31 voted in favor of the suspension. And this is where I think that the eminent council members, our respected council of state, they disappointed Ghanaians.
The person who stayed out of the voting, we are told, is former Chief Justice of Ayakuvo. And yesterday, at on Wednesday, when the IEA presented some proposals to the Constitutional Review Committee, she makes the point that the process by which the current CA is being removed is unfair.
It's unfair.
I'm wondering your
This is why it is even worrying that from 1992, this constitution has been in force since 1992.
Right.
And no Chief Justice has ever been suspended before. And in fact, even if you consider the petitions they've been talking about, the responses, the petition do not even warrant for an JCRC president to be suspended. This petition that you have somebody saying that because the president, in the matter of Afenyo-Markin versus the speaker, the Chief Justice did not allow the rules of natural justice to work by not listening to the speaker. The speaker did not put before the court his submission. So for that matter, the president of the panel, who happens to be the Chief Justice, should be held responsible. Alton, I mean, this is a weird principle. If you go to court and if you think that the judge misapplied the law, what do? You go for an appeal.
Right.
In the case of the Supreme Court, what do? You go for a review. And Alton, I think Article 127 or so, quickly, indulge me on this. Article, I was just looking at it. Article 127, is it, I think, yes, 1273.
Right.
A justice of a superior court or any person exercising judicial power shall not be liable to any action or suit for any act or omission by him in the exercise of the judicial power. So whilst the person is exercising his or her judicial power, you cannot, per the Constitution, The person cannot be liable for any action or suit or any omission by him or her in the exercise of judicial power. You are saying that because the person gave a judgment and that particular, in your view, did not meet the threshold of rules of natural justice. And for that matter, you are holding him, her, responsible for that. It's weird. And the second petition, ACP Akoko said that what? He's been insulted, he's been lambasted, and he was removed from the court and detained. And for them, what are you talking about? When you go to the court and you display any form of violent character, any form of misbehavior, look, don't forget, the 2012 presidential
election petition.
Sir John was brought before the court. He was lambasted. He had to apologize. Have you forgotten what Justice Atuguba did to him? In fact, even recent ones, that the current Attorney General, he was brought before the court for maligning the court. And he had to apologize.
And even in this case, we are told per the court records that even a member on the panel reprimanded this person and said that your conduct is in contempt of the court.
Yes.
But again, there's a matter of this travel allowance, which we are told the CJ did not deny, but explained why her daughter benefited from state funds, and that for them constitute, I
have read the policy
behavior.
The policy was put together in 2010. It was, it had some review, some amendment, somewhere 2019, way even before Justice Tokono became the Chief Justice. Now, in that policy, it says that the Chief Justice is entitled to 2 holiday travels with the spouse.
And the bodyguard.
Yes. In fact, and then it goes on to say that official travels, she's entitled to travel anytime.
With a bodyguard?
No, with the husband, and not a bodyguard, with one person chosen by her. That is what is in the policy. With one person chosen by her. And that one person, she chose the daughter. And we are talking about some 200 and something thousand. You see, I am surprised. Elton,
there's a $10,000 per diem.
Even a $10,000
a first class ticket, almost 100,000 Ghana cedis.
You see, I am surprised that she is the leader, the head of an arm of government. The president travels with a whole entourage. The cost on the state. Speaker travels. Speaker's medical bills are borne by the state. He travels with a whole entourage. And what? The Chief Justice? What are we talking about? Why are we belittling the position of the Chief Justice per their policy? And then the Judicial Secretary even also attested to the fact that, look, that policy has nothing to do with the Chief of Staff, the Chief Justice. We put together all her benefits. We, the Finance Director, will put together or calculate all her per diem. So, as far as the travel policy of the Judicial Service is concerned, she's not flouted any policy. She's not breached anything at all. And this is brought out as if, look, the reason why in fact, I wish that President Mahama would just revoke all of these things. Look, yesterday, TUC made a profound statement. They were very categorical. They said, Mr. President, this your action has the propensity to erode all the gains we have made in our democratic journey.
But Nanabi, this matter...
They told him in the face.
Yes, but this matter has gone through all the processes. You are saying that
we do not think that...
The Council of State made up of very competent individuals.
I'm disappointed.
All of them came to a conclusion that there's a case to be answered. And you say that all of them got it wrong.
How? This petition cannot even take a classroom prefect out. This petition, the content of it. A classroom prefect, it cannot even take a classroom prefect out, a class prefect out.
If I should take away those who were elected to the Council of State, the Constitution is clear on the composition, and you can't say that all of them, the decision they came to is influenced by partisan consideration.
No, I think that they were politically influenced, and I'm very, very, very sad. Look, the Chief Justice, they should have rather listened to. There is a Chief Justice on the Council of State. I am told that she is the chair for the Judicial Committee. And she certainly might have preferred an advice, because that is the same advice I'm sure is out there. Now, Justice Afenyo-Markin says that the processes are unfair. Because anybody, Elton, just look into the crystal ball. And these lame petitions, unfortunately, you know what? There was a petition that was brought by one group called Shining Star. Same content, same case, the Afenyo-Markin speaker case.
Right.
The same thing was brought by Professor Kwaku. And His Excellency, the President then, with Council of State, looked into it, and then they wrote back to Professor Kwaku that what you have brought cannot constitute a prima facie case.
Let me just...
So, you know my worry. My worry is that same content, same facts.
Presented to another person.
It's been, yes.
And they found merit in it.
Yeah, no, and I'm surprised why they should even allow it to. It should be part of the petitions. Because you know what? Double jeopardy. You cannot be tried for the same case twice.
He was not tried.
No.
They came to a conclusion that there was no case to be answered.
No, that's
different from
it. It's an adjudicated body. No. It is. It forms part of the process. So once the process, the president is involved, he consults Council of State, they found out that it does not constitute a prima facie case. They write back to Professor Kwaku, and then somebody brings a different group, the same petition, same fact. It should have been thrown out.
According to, let me just sort of, for the benefit of those who are watching us, and the fact that we've been referencing former Chief Justice Afenyo-Markin, she says that she described the current procedure outlined in Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution as unfair and lacking adequate safeguards for judicial independence. And there's a quote here: there must be a provision for appeal and an independent body rather than a presidentially appointed committee should be tasked with investigating such cases. She was quoted by the Ghana News Agency. And this is the exact quote. Now it looks like we've gone past this stage. The process is running. The panel, the 5-member committee will have their day together with the Chief Justice, and that these matters will be put before her. You think embarking on a demonstration on the street will change the mind of the president and say that I'm recalling everything?
Yes, it should. I think that even apart from the political parties, the coalition of political parties, we've heard from some important groups. You have a whole TUC. May Day was a holiday because of workers. And you have the body responsible for workers in this country, the association. And they are saying that, Mr. President, we have watched this matter, we have followed it keenly, and we are of the view that the steps you have taken, the decision you have taken, it will erode the gains we have made in our democratic journey. Mr. President, you should take a cue from this. Not only them, Ghana Bar Association. This is a huge body of lawyers.
In a matter that was put to vote.
Yes, it was a resolution. That makes it even more democratic. It is not as if 2, 3, 4, 5 persons met and then took a certain decision and then they pushed it out there. It was a whole conference.
And they say that the president acted unconstitutionally.
Yes.
Is it in the place of the GBA to come to such pronouncement?
Because initially they brought out a statement. They were not privy to the petition and then the responses, and then they relied on an element from government, National Communications Officer of the NDC, who has close contact to the presidency, coming out and saying that, in fact, he said that authoritatively, he has a copy. That is what he said. He has a copy of the responses of Justice Tokono. He has the petition and he's going to speak to it. And he spoke to it extensively on the show. So they are even of the view that this whole matter is even bastardized. That is why they also share the same view with Honorable Afenyo-Markin. That look, although the Constitution said that all of these proceedings should be held in camera, however, if the Chief Justice elect that, look, yes, it is my trial, I'm being tried, I want it to be in public, I think that it should happen.
You think that there should be a public showing of this?
I don't even want it to go there. Look, I would want to just wake up and then Mr. Mahama will say, President Mahama will say tomorrow that, you know what, it's okay, we've suspended it, we've done this, let's move on.
If partisan consideration is perhaps the reason why the NDC administration has taken this route, can the same thing be said for the MPP? who've taken a position to protect. I don't know whether
coalition of political parties.
Some says that they were not consulted and they are out of it. No. Goom, for example, says that they will not take part.
Goom, the day the statement came out, he spoke on.
And the General Secretary says that.
He said that he supported it the day he came out. I don't know if you are aware.
Right.
Yes, he said that he supported it. The following Monday, then he came out to say he doesn't support it. It's okay. We don't have a problem with it. I mean, he has the right to change his mind. That is fine. But the 4 other political parties, we are resolute. We are together. And we are going to protest. This is supposed to be mammoth. Look, and then we need to send the loudest signal to Mr. Mahama that, Mr. President, Ghana, we did not sell Ghana to you. It was not auctioned to you. In fact, we are surprised how all of a sudden a democratically elected leader, a constitutionally elected leader who receives overwhelming endorsement suddenly turns out to be a constitutional dictator and a tyrant. Look, in all of this, trust me, he is being unprincipled, and I'm alarmed. Just with this nomination of 7 persons, Mr. President, why? It looks like everything he says, he's backtracking. Everything. He's backtracking. From all the things, all the promises he said. I mean, you have all of these ideas, we are going to cap it at 15, you come and then with just a stroke of pen, you just appoint 7. But Elton, let me tell you an intelligence you have also gathered.
You say that this is just a grounds being prepared for some constitutional, amendment to get a president to run for a 3rd term in office.
This is information we had from the NDCs themselves, because some of them are also not happy. You see, it is very difficult to amend an entrenched clause in the Constitution.
Because it goes to a process that the threshold is very high to even get the entire country to back it.
The entire country getting 70% to endorse a particular item for that provision to be amended in the Constitution is very difficult. But the article that says, the provision that says that a person elected as president can only go for 2 terms. Now, we said again, I said this 2 weeks ago, that Mr. Mahama wants to sponsor a judicial interpretation of the Constitution to the effect that when the Constitution says that a person can only be in power for 2 terms, the Constitution meant continuously, consecutively, with no vacuum. So Mr. Mahama came for 1 term. He was elected out or voted out. His Excellency Nana came for 2 terms. He's now coming back again. So there should be an interpretation by the Supreme Court that when the Constitution says 2 terms, it means he must be continuous. So for that matter, if the Supreme Court should give that interpretation, then Mr. Mahama will gather the strength to say that because of that interpretation, I can run for another term, making it 3 terms. Do not be surprised. What is Trump doing in the US? Almighty US. They've grown their democracy for years, centuries. Not even years, centuries. And all of a sudden, Trump comes in and says that, look, I desire to go for a 3rd term. He's received massive bashing. This is the agenda of President Mahama. All of these things are calculated. First, do not be surprised. In the coming weeks, do you know what you'll be hearing? You will hear from opinion leaders say that let's look at the Constitution again. Let's look at the Article 62 or so, that talks of 2 terms. What does it mean? People will start bringing it from different corteses for a debate. Then somebody will just one day wake up and say that, look, then let's go to Supreme Court to test that matter. That is the agenda. That is why we must wake up. Look, what is happening to and the judiciary? You are under attack. We have heard from GBA. We have heard from TUC, Association of Judges and Magistrates. Your association is under attack. And you see, he wants to gain control. As for the executive, he has control. As for the legislature, he has control. Now, the judiciary. By a particular act of suspending the Chief Justice. Now we have in place an acting Chief Justice. Justice Bafuboni's wife recently was appointed as Director General, Ghana Prisons. She is the boss. She is the leader, Ghana Prisons. So she has received a favor from President Mahama. Her husband has also received an indirect favor through the actions of President Mahama.
But this same husband was appointed to the Supreme Court by President Kufuor.
I'm not disputing that. What I'm trying to say is that now, if you've done such favors for this particular house, anything you say, they will go to. Anything you do, anything the president says, it will be very difficult for the acting Chief Justice to say no.
But even looking at the composition of the current Supreme Court judges, you have people who are appointed by Kufuor and Nana Akufo-Addo more than those who have been appointed by Mahama.
No, that is true. I'm not disputing that. But that is what I'm saying. And look, now, coming events cast their own shadows. We're just 4 months into office. We've appointed 7, just with a sheet of paper.
And it's possible it may even go up.
It may go up. Right. That is why I'm saying that His Excellency appears to be lacking principles. So that is what I'm trying to say, that look at it. If a particular house, by the actions of His Excellency the President, has benefited enormously from his actions, from his act, anything he will say, that is it, that is psychological. Hey, he's done me a favor. Oh no, that is a danger. That is the problem. That is where we are now. We must fight this. And discerning Ghanaians are talking about it.
But Nana, if you go that route, then people will say that for those who are also appointed by Nana Akufo-Addo, then they also owed him some kind of privilege.
No, as for that is why I'm saying that. Look, what does? In fact, I would have preferred that a much tier, a bigger issue, a bigger case. But look at what you are seeing. So if the president can see through such frivolous, such baseless petitions and suspend the whole Chief Justice? No, I mean, it looks like people are not seeing through. She is the head of an arm of government. We have 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. She's not just any judge. That is why I'm saying that all the petitions we've seen, if you go through it very well, it cannot even meet the threshold of removing even a class prefect.
All right, Henry Nanabuachi is my guest here on the pulse. He's the national organizer of the MPP. We are talking about their upcoming demonstration on Monday against what they describe as the politicization of the judiciary by the current administration, an attempt to remove the Chief Justice. We'll also talk about the MPP Thank You tour. Your comments are welcome. So now after Monday, then what next?
Yes, we'll be announcing series of protests. We'll be engaging a lot of institutions. We'll be engaging the diplomatic corps. We'll be engaging foreign emissions and all of that. Look, we must let the whole world know that this is not proper and it will not help our democracy. And if His Excellency does not listen, then clearly, that is what I'm trying to say, that I am surprised how somebody who is touting to be very listening, very engaging, all of a sudden, somebody who is democratically elected, all of a sudden, he doesn't want to hear anything. He doesn't want to hear dissenting voices. No. And look at the commentary from the NDC people. You could see that, yes, look, I have met a lot of them. It's unfair for me to mention because sometimes some of these things are private conversations. To wait, look, whatever you do, the woman will go. That is the danger in it. And you see, they carried this from the planning room to the public. So I'm not surprised that the whole national chairman will say that, oh, we will clear the Chief Justice. And after we have cleared her, we will clear the Electoral Commission and her deputies as well.
All right.
Elton, we must all be serious about this. This is democracy under attack. This is the judiciary under attack. All of us, this is a violent attack on the judiciary. We must be very serious. His Excellency, the President, has a sinister motive to really, if we say proper true state capture, this is the action. And we must be very careful. That is why we are asking everybody to come out in your numbers. The attire is red and black. 5 a.m. opposite Supreme Court. We meet there. We do the first presentation at the Supreme Court, second at the Parliament House, third at the Jubilee House.
Let's take a short break here on the pause. When we return, we'll spend some few minutes with him on the MPP Thank You Tour. Henry Nanabuache is my guest here on the program. Stay put. We'll be right back. Come back to the program. This is the pause here on Joy News. My guest is still Henry Nanabuache. He is the national organizer of the MPP. So let's deal with some other matters before I can let him join the team at Asempa FM. But news just in is that the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital CEO, Professor Ochre Adamensa, has been relieved of his duties. He is expected to hand over to be named CEO next week. And so that is the news if you just join us. So, Adanabi, the Thank You Tour, is this still ongoing?
Oh, yes, it's ongoing. We have intentions to suspend it so that the party leadership will join the demonstration on Monday. So as I speak today, they will be entering Bono East.
Right.
And then tomorrow, they will do Savannah region. And then as we intend to break so that all will congregate.
And is it possible Dr. Bamia might be part of this demonstration?
Yes, very possible. Very, very possible. That because that is the indication I had from General Secretary is with the team, and then they have intentions of breaking so that they'll come and join. This is very important for the party, and then we'll go back to the field again.
Yet it hasn't been all smooth sailing.
No, it's not been all smooth.
From comments, attacks, even on the platform, Kennedy, Japan, Abronye. I mean, generally, how will you describe how it's been?
Oh, we've had some major setbacks, but I think that is a good exercise. Look, we have just come from a humiliating defeat, elections that gave us a humiliating defeat. These things are expected. We started from Western region. It wasn't bad. Western North, Ahafo, then Bono, we had that issue. Even that, I saw a footage which was very refreshing. You see Abronye and Kennedy in a pleasant exchanges.
After they had given to each other.
After they had that exchanges. In Kumasi, very unfortunate, very, very, very unfortunate with the stabbing. I know that yesterday His Excellency, the Vice President, went there, Kennedy also went there. All of them are seeing to it that the young man received the necessary medical attention. The bills too, also taken by our two persons, Honorable Kennedy and then His Excellency Alhaj Mahmoud Bawumia as well. Yes, we had problems, but it doesn't mean that if you are confronted with challenges, when you are embarking on such a journey, you need to stop. No, I do not think so. So we are going to complete the entire region. We are learning from some of these things. For me, it's part of the healing process. We are going to come out stronger. It is better for us to face these things now than to face it later. So I am okay with it.
Mr. Kwajon Pianim is asking why you are embarking on a thank you tour. Thanking them for what exactly?
No, but that is how it is. It's been conventional. It's been conventional. Every elections, the presidential candidate loses, wins, we go to thank the people. I mean, in all things, we need to thank God. But when we go there, we first of all apologize. They are not happy. Yes, I mean, this was not the kind of results they were expecting. And then you had Jojo with them as well. So I disagree with anybody who says that we shouldn't have embarked on this tour. This is a National Council's decision. It came from National Executive Committee, and then we informed National Council about it. We will have challenges and problems, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to embark on such an important exercise.
And so for clarity, the suspension you spoke of, it is because of the upcoming demonstration, and not because we are stopping it entirely.
No, not at all. We will finish, and then the following day we are back to the fight.
But your chairman is out of the
he
tour.
He's attending to some personal issues. He's attending to some personal issues. That is it. Yes, he's going to rejoin the team. Yes.
And Kennedy Japan's issue with the reason why he pulled out, citing security concerns for some of his followers. Yesterday we spoke to you on that.
Yes, I respect that decision. It's fair. It's okay. If he's saying that for peace and tranquility, for calmness. He's exiting. That is fair. That is okay. I don't have any issues with it at all. So I respect that decision.
But you think the party is so bruised?
Yes.
You are so far away from getting the cohesion
we are not far away.
Ahead of 2028.
Yes, we are not far away. This is a party, as I said, that just we were in power. We lost the elections badly. So clearly, we still there are some excesses that we need to deal with. So I can understand, but we are going to find our feet. We are going to make sure all of this. That is why I'm saying that this tour is very important. You go and engage your party people, and then you know what is there, and then you take the next step. So it's very necessary that
Dr. Bawumia in Western Region assigned some of the reasons why the party lost. He says you were intransigent, you use the word "namaswear them," you introduced policies that did not find favor with the people. In your rounds as national organizer ahead of 2024, did you encounter any of these feelings?
Oh yes, we did. But you see, we as a government, we found ourselves in a very difficult situation. Look, in 2024, from my checks, almost about 120 or so countries had an election, and about 80% of them lost. And they lost because of global economic crisis, the ramifications from COVID, the Russia-Ukraine war, and all that. I mean, almighty South Africa, ANC lost, right?
Yeah, they lost. They had to do a coalition to form the next government.
Yes.
To form the new government.
Yes. So it's not been easy for many incumbent governments because we had to take some critical decisions, some important decisions. There were some decisions I think that if the government then had not taken, I think that the country was going to collapse. And today it's okay. So for me, we are paying the price for some of the bitter decisions we took to make sure we sustain the economy. So, for instance, the introduction of e-levy, I mean, there is no way His Excellency Akufo-Addo would have implemented e-levy in the first term. In fact, he had actually abolished some taxes. But coming out of COVID, we needed money. So, when you are in such desperate situations, it calls for desperate measures. It can be bitter and biting. You have to pay the price for it. You have to pay for it. This DDEP was part of IMF's programs. We had to pay for it. Some of these introduction of some other taxes was part of it. We had to pay for it. So we were part of a global situation which affected most incumbent governments. The then government in UK lost. In US, they also lost. So for me, that is how I'm going to see it. So if His Excellency Al-Hajj, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, said all those things, it is already known.
As some say, he was speaking to the content of the Michael Quay's report.
No, he wasn't.
And it's possible that could be contained in the report.
No. As for Michael Quay's report, because they travel around, these things were on the lips of people.
Okay.
In fact, even Professor Michael Quay, when he was even giving a brief about it, he said that people were citing hardship, high cost of living, this e-levy thing, and all of that. The Burton tax, he said, the students also mentioned it. They mentioned it. And that's why I'm saying that all of these things are things we know already. And then he kept saying that we, it is out of the desperate measures. We. So, again, the attempt by some people to say that he wants to
distance himself
from blame. No, I disagree. If you listen to his words, he kept saying we, yang, admitting that he was part of it. And this is how the thing went. So I think that I would disagree with anybody who says that he wants to absolve himself of any blame. No.
Again, Mr. Kojo thinks that if even you are not making the report known to the entire party or to the country, you should have a select few in the party for them to understand what really is in the report so that they could be better informed in terms of going forward. Because already you're asking people to submit proposal for constitutional amendment, yet they don't even know what they are responding to.
No, let me provide this education. Look, the constitutional amendment is already in our constitution. Article 19 in our constitution is quite clear that if you want to do any constitutional amendment, the only body mandated to amend or to supervise the amendment of the constitution is conference.
Right.
And before conference, you must have alerted the entire party 2 months before that you intend to undertake constitutional amendment, so people should bring proposals. So that is number one. And number two, Professor Michael Kwei's committee, there are some proposals or recommendations that certainly will also trigger constitutional amendment. That is two. And then three, we also have the Afenyo-Markin committee.
Right.
In 2021.
Afenyo,
Yes,
Obiamo and the rest.
exactly. The Afenyo-Markin committee, they also superintended over the amendment of our constitution, and they have their report.
Right.
That report must be received. So three issues in here. So it is not only the proposals coming out or recommendation coming out of the Michael Kwei committee.
Okay.
We are dealing with three things.
Okay.
And constitutional provisions, you must have alerted the party 2 months before conference. We intend to go for conference in July. So if you do your calculation, it means you should alert and announce to the party that you intend to undertake constitutional amendment.
It is not because of
It is not because of
solely Michael Kwei. Okay, and then somebody
And again, General Secretary in his statement, he said that yes, we are going to formally put out the recommendations that ought to be public. We are going to put it out.
Okay.
Yes, that will be after the tour. We are going to put it out for everybody to know.
I was not going to ask this question, but I've got like 10 text messages, all of them geared towards. They say that they do not understand why Dr. Bawumia gave the party some amount of money, and again Yapon also gives the party some amount of money. And then at that presentation, we were told that the party will use part of the money to settle some outstanding debt, salaries that had not been paid, and the likes. And then the question I asked, this is the party that has just come out of government, less than 5 months. Yes, we are finding it difficult to pay salary of your workers at the party headquarters.
No. As political parties per law, you do not engage in any profitable venture. So political parties, what we do is that we solicit for funding. We do fundraising. And people, we have huge personalities in these parties who have helped over the years. In fact, even our the building, one Honorable Hakmunusu Ajiman.
Yeah, bought it.
Yes, it was his house, and then he practically gave it to them. He gifted it to the party. So we've had so many people who have bought cars for the party. People have given money. So this is not the first time the party is receiving donations from members, because political parties, you are not supposed to, per the law, engage in any profitable venture. So for anybody to say that, 4 months afterwards, it is not to say that we are engaging in a profitable venture and 4 months
you can
are lacking profit. So no, we do not engage. All these while we survive based on our members.
All right. My final question on this matter, and then I can let you go. So I don't know how concerned you are with posters we are seeing on social media. And I'm just looking at one from Dr. Palgrave Wachidankwa. Let Ken be Ken 2020. I don't know which Ken he's talking about, that Ken Japan or Ken Oforiatta. I've also seen the former education minister make a comment that suggests that he may also be interested in running in 2028. Dr. Bawumia, obviously. Are you concerned that people are peaking ahead of time?
Oh, I'm not sure people are picking ahead of time. For me, I even encourage more people to come.
You are seeking to galvanize the party. You are seeking to address wounds.
It is part of it. You see, people must generate interest in leading the party. I don't have a problem with it at all. If at the end of the day, the delegates are going to decide. If you intend to contest, when you open nominations, you pick forms. You go before the delegates. You propagate your message to them. If your message is bought, then yes, you become the flag bearer. I don't have a problem with it. You see, even if a political party is there and people are disinterested
in positions, in contesting positions,
then it means there's a problem. So, but if people think that, look, I can put myself up for this position, what is important is how we conduct it.
Okay.
The language.
Are you seeking re-election as national organizer?
I've mentioned that for now, I'm not considering seeking an election. I've said it before.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Before I let you go, yesterday, I don't know whether on Tuesday, on Wednesday actually, did you listen to the Attorney General? He says that the docket on the National Service is ready and very soon they will start prosecution.
Elton, the Attorney General should either resign or he must be sacked.
What is the problem here?
You see, Let me first of all read Article 88 in the Constitution. There shall be an Attorney General of Ghana, who shall be a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to the government. 2. The Attorney General shall discharge such other duties of legal nature as may be referred or assigned to him by the President, or imposed on him by the Constitution or any other law. The Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecutions of criminal offences. All offences prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be the suit of the Attorney General or other person authorized by him in accordance with any law. The Attorney General shall be responsible, this is 5, responsible for institution and conduct of all civil cases on behalf of the state, and all civil proceedings against the state shall be instituted against the Attorney General as a defendant. 6, final one. The Attorney General shall have audience in all courts in Ghana.
Which one has he fallen short of this provision in the 1992 Constitution?
A+ says you are corrupt and a thief. A+ is not just any person now. A+ is an honorable member of parliament who belongs to the majority. Says that you are corrupt and a thief. Now, in your response, you are saying that A+ is saying so because you went for some campaign funds from one Dr. Sledge. That is why A+ is saying so. And people have even advised you to take or to initiate legal proceedings against A+. That's a defamation suit against A+. But you will not do that because you don't want to be distracted. And if A+ thinks that he wants to play with you in the mud, that is where you want. You are from the mud. Where you are not afraid of the mud. So you go into the mud. Who says we want our Attorney General to be playing in the mud? Who?
Playing the mud to defend himself.
When I heard this, I was so furious. Attorney General? That is why I intentionally read Article 88. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only ministerial portfolio
that is mentioned in the Constitution.
That is mentioned in the Constitution with your mandate clearly stated. Now, A+ again goes back to his Facebook, says that, hey, no, you are lying. You went for 500,000 Ghana cedis. The purpose of this money was to bribe
members of the appointment committee.
You are a stupid fool. You are an old fool. I will reset your mind. And Elton, we are joking with this. This man said this 4 days ago. Mr. President. In fact, an innocent chief of staff.
But how does taking money supposedly for campaign funding compromises the Attorney General?
That is why I'm saying that.
Or makes it a bribe?
Look, nobody is even saying. What he's saying now, he's being specific. He's saying that, no, I'm not talking about whatever money you went for your campaign or the pickup you went for your campaign. Rather, I am talking about the 500,000 you went for with the sole purpose to bribe the appointment committee of parliament. This is a serious matter. And now the Attorney General is telling us that he will not proceed to court to redeem his image. Now our Attorney General is a thief.
According to?
That is what he's saying. Because if you cannot go to court to clear your name, go to court, sue A+, let A+ come, provide the evidence. He's unable to provide the evidence, then we say that, look, he was lying.
But you are demanding his resignation,
yes,
or the president should sack him. Why?
Yes, I am. Look at what he said. Now, he put together a press conference and here's that A+ knows what he has done in the NSS scandal. A+ should come and tell us what he knows. What are we joking in this country? You are the Attorney General. I have just quoted your powers.
He says he's never stolen. He's not a thief. If
you're not a thief, why don't you redeem yourself?
Whatever he has done was
look, the man has mentioned a figure. He has mentioned a figure.
He says if that constitutes thievery, then everybody is a thief in parliament.
No, you see, that is even one side of it. A+ says that he's not talking about campaign donation. And even for you to say that, look, yes, I've gone for money and I've gone for pickup. So if that is the case, then we have 276. That is even irresponsible. It's even reckless talk. Who came to tell you that he went for campaign funds? Who came to tell you that he went for campaign funds for somebody before he was able to execute his or her campaign? Who told you? How can you be in the minds of people?
You think there's a further probe into this matter?
Yeah, but serious. Look, this is more serious. Where is even more agitating is where he says that A+ knows what he has done with the NSS scandal. That is why he's saying all of this. He should come and tell us. He should come and tell who? Attorney General, you are speaking like a mere pedestrian. You have the prosecutorial powers. You can report him to NIB. You can report him to the police so that the police will investigate. How can you say that A+ should come and tell you what he knows? Is it the case that you have arrested A+, that he's conducted himself in a criminal manner in the NSS matter, so for which reason you are prosecuting him? We don't know about that. You are only insinuating. Attorney General insinuating, press conference, and where from this? The Attorney General, you have such big mandate, huge, and now you have to call for a media before you can say we are going to prosecute this person next week. In 4 days' time, we are prosecuting Elton. In 3 days' time, we are prosecuting Nana B. What is this? Elton, is this a joke?
I wonder whether you have been questioning it in the National Service Scheme.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. National Service, I was there. You know, I was there for just a year.
Yeah, you served as deputy.
Yeah, deputy for 2017 to 2018. And even that time, I was contesting to be National Youth Organizer. Not at all. But this is serious. Look, he says that 3 criminal offenses being alleged on your person, that you are corrupt, you are a thief, and you have engaged in bribery.
You don't take his explanation as something like...
It is lame. No, Elton, no. It is lame. How can you, an Attorney General... And the worst of it all is that, look, where I come from, we play in the mud. I'm ready. When I see Attorney General, Attorney General, look at all that I've said.
But in what extent does it lower the integrity of that office?
Massively. Why do you want to play in the mud? Why? Maybe. Why should a whole member of parliament who belongs to your own majority says that you are a thief and categorically says that you went for 500,000 to bribe the appointment committee? Look at the outlook. What is being said? Look at how this thing is going to be looked at internationally. That the Attorney General of Ghana is alleged to be a thief, corrupt, and involved in bribery scandal by a member of parliament. And he's been specific, 500,000 to bribe a member of parliament.
All right, let's leave it here for now. I'm sure that we have not heard the last of this. Thank you very much, Nana B, for coming through. Nana B is the national organizer of the MPP. Let's take a short break and we'll come back to wrap up the show. We'll come back and we are preparing to wrap up. But before we go, the lawyer for the indicted former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Atachia, says he has cut all forms of communications with the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Anyida, because he's afraid he might be recorded and same audio leaked into the public domain. That's why the court ruling the lawyer has accused the Attorney General of telling a cock and bull story when he informed the judge on Wednesday that surveillance shows Dr. Dubois attempted to interfere with a potential witness in the ongoing trial. Lawyer Atachia's comments comes barely 2 hours after the court remanded Mr. Dubois into custody of the Economic and Organized Crime (EOCO) for 7 days to allow the AG to take statement from potential witnesses. Legal Affairs correspondent Latif Idu sat through the proceedings and has this report.
And he got bail on the 8th of April. So was the EOCO sleeping on the matter?
When you said the Attorney General wanted a long time, what was the duration he was looking for?
Well, he was pleading for 14 days. So that they do, experiment with somebody's liberty. The judge said no. And the farthest you could have for the moment, is 7 days.
Is it the case that the surveillance and intelligence Dr. Aini mentioned on Wednesday
indeed has some weight, reason why Mr. Dubois has been remanded.
What is the surveillance and the rest of it? If today Dubois is stronger than Yoko and Dubois is stronger than the national security, then President Mahama is not safe. A man pitting his strength against the nation. You know, when they come and tell the court such cock and bull story, they believe that is the end of the matter. So we shouldn't diminish the power of Yoko by their own interest and also national security. And they said, oh, if there is something that Dubois can do to the nation Ghana, then President Mahama hasn't gotten the right national security and the right to Yoko. It's unfortunate. And when the judge was doing what they call a balancing act, it's not on the strength of what the Attorney General has, but on the fact that you don't have to toy also with the liberty of the individual. So what the Attorney General wanted, the judge said, no, it's too long. So just use 7 days, and whatever you think is residual to whatever you've done, and then come before me. But you see, this undermines totally what they are touting in the press, that they've gotten all the evidence against them, and they should even come for plea bargaining. This is a lottery of a trial. That we should all look at it from the perspective of the razzmatazz and the theatrics. This is a very painful somersault for the Attorney General to say, I want more time. Let's have a full conversation, and somebody says that, oh, I'm trying to, romance the Attorney General. There's a precedent, and now I've been around for some time. I don't want to talk to the Attorney General, although we are very good friends, lest somebody might even go and interpret it, and somebody might even go and lick a tape. Atta is hobnobbing with the Attorney General so that you have some advantages. That is why I'm very quiet about it. I've been around for a long time, and the Attorney General knows it. I'm a senior at the bar. I'm not cheap.
So you've now cut all communications with Dr. Hine, you would say?
I believe so. For now, I don't believe I should be discussing anything with the Attorney General. And if there is anything he wants us to do outside the trial, maybe he should find a better way of doing it, because I'm scared that the kind of propaganda that is in the public space, they can put any kind of spin or interpretation of any engagement they want to do. I'm very, very careful.
So that was Samuel Atachan, his lawyer for Kwabena Adubois, who has now been remanded into Yoko custody for the next 7 days. Now, the Metropolitan Chief Executive of Kumasi, Richard Ofori-Agyemang-Boadi, has issued a firm caution to traders at Adum Pizza following a recent fire outbreak that destroyed several shops and property. Addressing the media, the KMA boss advised the traders to refrain from hastily rebuilding their bank structures, warned that doing so without official clearance could result in a massive demolition exercise and further losses, according to KMA.
What are the steps taken by KMA to ensure that those on the edges of the street are removed? So even in the medians, there's not everybody that is gone. We still have a lot of troubles with the medians, and from Monday going, we are going to energize the whole activity. We have seen some progress around the Prudential Bank area, around the Hello FM stretch, but that's not enough for us. We're going to make sure that every runabout do not have any truck or any bus loading to take passengers to wherever. So the runabouts around Kejetia, there were 2 runabout, and the one around the Dishman area in front of the MTN office close to the zoo. From Monday, we will make sure that everybody that is there is taken off, and anybody that has any metallic object on the street from Monday. I said yesterday that I'm not going to do any announcement. I've made all announcements that I have to make. Everybody is aware that we do not want to entertain them. So from Monday, we're going to give it a lot of energy. Anything that we seize on the street, you won't get it back. Any item that we seize on the street, we're not going to find you for you to come and take it. Anything we take from the street, you won't get it back. And we've seen that the PZ Blue Light area that was engulfed by fire, the shop owners have started building their structures. I was there. I've seen this morning that they are still building, but you've served notice. It's still ongoing.
Yeah, you see, this city will have a problem. Everybody wants something to be done. Nobody wants to support it. When you're doing the right thing, then people read negative meanings into it. If I'm to go through the process of going through a bureaucratic process to go and hire one excavator to demolish it, it will take me like 3 weeks at the earliest. So when I saw the activity, I decided to fall on national security to get excavators that has been seized to come and demolish the building urgently. And look at the backlash I got.
You understand? So what it means is that now I've refrained myself from using seas excavators that are with the national security. So we're going to look at. But you see, that's a bigger problem. That's a bigger problem. We need everybody, everything that I'm doing, even if the approach is not right. The ultimate goal is what people should look at. I only want to serve Kumasi with the best of my abilities. I want to protect lives. I want to improve on business environment. I want to make sure that everybody goes about his or her business safely. Now, this is what is happening now. If we are not able to take any edge stands and they do it and they occupy it, when the rains come and it's heavy, we'll have disaster.
Will you be seeking national security intervention and doing it?
This month we are going to, from here we are doing engagement with the people there. We'll be forceful with once the report says we must demolish, whether you construct, reconstruct, we will demolish it. No matter how long it takes, we will demolish it. So I've advised them, don't spend too much money, so that when we come and demolish it, then your losses will be too. You have lost so much in the blaze, and then you are spending money to rebuild something unlawfully, illegally.
And before we go, government says Ghana's festive season is getting a major boost, as it says what was once confined to a lively, dirty December will now become a year-round celebration of the country's arts, culture, and tourism with the launch of the Black Star Experience. At the official unveiling of the celebration, President Mahama outlined a packed calendar of events, including Creative Connect, Street Carnival, and a revamped Panafest. Ghana's Fashion Week set for July, with President Mahama announced that he would take a turn on the runway himself. Presidential correspondent Marcel Agbagba was at the Freedom and Justice Monuments for the launch of the Black Star Experience.
It
was a night of culture.
Beautiful things that made Timbuktu what it was, the beautiful things that made Dubois' voice what it was. So come back home to memories not only of Nkrumah, for we have invoked our
poetry
too many times
and music. The atmosphere was alive with energy, and President Mahama couldn't resist the opportunity to hit the dance floor. The Black Star Experience is part of President John Mahama's 120-day social contract, an initiative dedicated to celebrating Ghanaian creativity, arts, film, fashion, tourism, and innovation through a series of events, platforms, and strategic investments. Coordinator of the Black Star Festival, Rex Ousumafo, outlined a packed calendar of events that would form part of the experience.
Global marketing amplification of Emancipation Day and Panafest. This year, we are going to take Panafest to another level. We will amplify Panafest and we'll position it in a global eye so that what it was set up to do will happen. Your Excellency, Creative Connect will happen again this November, but this time we are making it international. We are bringing global thought leaders and top industry practitioners to come so that we can learn from them and give us right direction and position us in a global eye. We are going to overhaul and make stronger the Dirty December calendar with another major star-studded annual festivals and supporting events across this country. And I want to emphasize, in most cases, we spend our money to bring foreign programs like Afro Nation, like other projects that belongs to other people. They come and collect our dollars and go. This time we want to empower the Ghanaian creative entrepreneur to create our own projects and develop it so that we can also export.
Your head diverse. Maybe you get car. You dey drive benzo. You dey use your leg. You dey big trot.
Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Ablajifa Gomashi, said that the Black Star Experience will help project Ghana's image on the global stage.
The Black Star Experience, a strategic intervention to showcase Ghana's unique culture and heritage to the world. It is posited to enhance the transversal potential of the nation's creative and cultural essence as a veritable offering to the Ghanaian people, Africa and its diaspora, and to the world.
President Mahama described the experience as his government's solemn pledge to rebrand Ghana, boost tourism, attract investment, and create jobs. He promised to model on the runway during the Ghana Fashion Week, which is part of the tall list of activities.
And yes, when we host the Ghana Fashion Week in July, it's going to be a full 7 days to spotlight our vibrant fashion industry. And this is the interesting one. I, your president, will proudly take to the catwalk because this experience is real and it belongs to all of us. If you notice, I wear made in Ghana clothes. This is my round neck. We popularly call it Jonathan, yeah? And then I have political suits, all sewn by Ghanaian designers. And even if you see me wear a suit, it is made in Ghana. And so on that day, I'm going to go into my wardrobe, and I'm going to change 3 times. And I'm going to walk on the catwalk. And anytime I walk, I'll tell you which designer sewed that particular dress.
But the president has also been talking about the steering wheel. Let's listen to him.
And Jifa said, we will succeed because the steering is in your hands. I almost said, Mama be steer, no, but I realized the steer is in my hands already. Thank you. I remember I asked that they don't show foreign films on the presidential jet anymore, and that we should watch Ghanaian movies. And no, this was when I was president before, and I'm going to give the edict again. The plane is gone for service. When it comes out, ask them to change all the repertoire and put Ghanaian movies. And I watched a very interesting one between Lil Wayne and I've forgotten his name, our half-caste. When some armed robbers attacked him in conspiracy with his wife, and then Lil Wayne and his wife found him lying down. And the wife said, oh, armed robbers. And Abonosa. And Lil Wayne said, Debi, Obroni, Ofi play mun etofom. You know? And then they took him home, nursed him. And Lil Wayne was pounding fufu and said, anywhere he puts the yam, he should pound it. And then he kept putting the yam. The guy was pounding. And then he wanted to taste one of the yams. He put it in his mouth, and the guy knocked his mouth with the pounding stick. I mean, these are interesting. Yeah.
And on that interesting note, we end the show for this week. Of course, the beginning of an exciting month of May. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. CAF CEO, that's Konfanoti Teaching Hospital CEO, relieved of his duties. Government to announce replacement soon. Manasseh Azuri petitions President Mahama to terminate Zoomline YEA contract over alleged corruption. There's also Ghana school feeding contract terminated nationwide. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. Folks, I'm out. Of course, have a good weekend. Whatever you are up to this weekend, I hope it's profitable. My name is Elton Brobe. Have a good evening. See you Monday, same time here on Joy News. Independent, fearless, and credible. Enjoy your weekend.